Hello. It's been a few days. So today I am going to be gluing some more books. Last time I glued books, I had them in my large book presses. Today I'm going to glue my first ones that are in these narrow bamboo book presses. So it's a little bit different. And I was just realizing I was about to press stream that I need some way to stand these up as I'm gluing them. So I think I'll use these stacks of bamboo boards. It should work just great. Just need to get the spacing right and that should be good. I am still intending to make little fold out legs for each of these, but in the meantime, just do what I can with what I've got. This should work fine. It would definitely be ideal to have the legs on there though, because I like to kind of angle this different ways as I'm going. In fact, maybe sort of a 45-degree angle would be good. Seems about right. Okay, so now I just need glue and a brush. That's it. And like last time I glued, I'll glue 4 or 5 at a time. Oh shoot, I also need to focus on ones that have the mold cut. I lost at least one, maybe 2 of them. Okay, this is the one for that. At least one of them I misplaced the piece of mold that I cut and I don't know where it went. So I'll just have to cut another piece or 2. I probably should double check these for straightness. I feel like there's a slight chance that these can move out of place. Eventually I'd like to make them perfectly square or flat on the bottom. I might have to drill slightly different holes in them to make them match. Anyway, they're good enough. I just didn't think them out too well. So I'm gonna do like I did last time and put the glue straight on the spine. Seemed to work out pretty good. I actually ran out of glue in this bottle today. I have a bigger bottle that I can pull from. Eventually I'm going to run out entirely though, and I need to buy some more. I used to work at an art supply company, so I had easy access to this kind of stuff, but it's been several years since then, so now I'm getting a little bit low on my supplies. I'm kind of thinking I might want to just hold this to get the right angle. Need a little bit more light for this. First one needs a little bit more glue because the brush isn't saturated yet with glue. And the others get a little bit more juicy because of that. Might need to put a little bit more on this one. One down, 13 to go. I kind of doubt I'll do all these tonight, but maybe. Just depends on how quickly they go. Ow. That brush got saturated real quick, so now I have too much glue on this one. gonna skip this one. This is the one that was somehow missing the piece of mold. I don't know what happened to it, so put that aside. And come back to that one at the end. If I have time, I'll hit another piece.
Man, been working at this lame factory the past 3 years.
I feel you.
Getting tired of this BS.
Give me some.
Alright, so I've done 4. It's often where I wash my brush and then do the second gluing, but I think I can probably get away with 5. So we'll do one more. Last one I did was a little bit dry. This one's a little bit wet, so I'm gonna try to spread the glue from this one onto the last one a bit, even it out. Actually, I think it's okay. This side was a little bit heavy on the glue, but this other side, the right side, is not so bad. Alright, 5 done, so I'm going to go wash the brush, be right back, and I'll do the second step on those. These are still a little bit wet, so I probably could have done another one or two, but it's fine. They progressively get drier as I go because this step takes longer than the first step, so usually works out just fine. Okay, this is the last one in this batch of 5. After this, take another break and then start another batch. It's the last one. So I will be right back in a few minutes. advance this time and do 6 instead of 5. So I think I'm going fairly fast. Brush washing time. I'll be back in a couple minutes. These stacks of bamboo boards aren't the best stand for this. A couple kind of extra wide bricks would be good. Or some, maybe, I don't know, a couple 4x6 blocks or something like that would be ideal. These work fine for just makeshift, but something more stable would be better. I feel like I've gotten lucky that this whole thing hasn't toppled over. There's the second batch. So I did 5 at first, 6 that time. Leaves 3 more to complete the 14. One of them needs a new piece of mole cut, so I'm gonna wash the brush, be right back, finish those up. Okay, so this one here needs a new piece of mold cut, 'cause I guess I lost it or something. Speaking of lost things, not sure where my rotary cutter thing is. Oh, here it is. Since I only have 3 left, I'll need to pause between the first and second step a little bit because it'll be too wet to put this on there. PVC rack that I made a few streams ago is turning out to be pretty cool. I'm gonna use all 3 layers of it. Even though I don't have 27 or 30 books like I was showing that it could fit. And I think that's kind of an unrealistic thing. That's if I have 0 spacing between them, and then they're kind of fumbly, so it's kind of nice to space them out so they don't catch on each other. I have room for maybe easily 5 more books at least, but it's nice to use different, like the bottom layers for the ones that are finished, and the top layer are the ones I'm currently working on. It's nice. Oh, excuse me. Okay, all 3 of those are ready for the second step, but they're a little bit too wet to start in on that, so let's see. I have all those books that I already glued. I could start gluing the sides on those. I don't know if I can reach them from here. These are the ones I was working on a few streams ago. These were put in the book presses before I made these special narrow bamboo book presses, so they had the big ones. So I guess I'll glue a couple of these while I'm waiting for those other ones to get tacky on the glue. Make sure the post-its stay out of the way. So this is the next step after the one I'm doing on those other books. After the spine is dry, take them out of the presses and they're nice and straight and permanently set. And then I glue the linen tapes, these 2 things in this case, and the mold down to the side of the book. I have to do one side at a time because I have to like lay it down somewhere and not have the glue from both sides stick to the table or whatever. So I usually do one side, leave it overnight, and do the next side another day. So I'll do a couple of those while I'm waiting for those. Oh, in this case, I'm actually going to need to use my little shot glass for the glue because I can't just pour the glue straight on the book. I need to be a little bit more controlling on how much gets put on there. So I usually just brush it straight on. Start with where the linen tapes are in the middle. Get enough glued. It doesn't need to be fancy because this is all going to get covered in the inside of the cover, so you won't see it. So just big enough area to cover those, and I just push them down into the glue that I just brushed on. Stretch them out you could actually unweave these if you wanted to and spread them out so that they are more distributed, and then when you put the cover on, you won't see the indentation at all of these, but I'm not too concerned about that. I've never done that, really. I don't mind. And usually there's not really any texture that shows through significantly anyway. On some of my earlier books it did a little bit, but I've kind of gotten used to doing it a way that doesn't cause that so much. Then I just go over the whole area again, that same area where those tapes are, up the top, so that I can push the mole over the top of it all. Make sure to push away from the edges, not towards them, because then you get glue on the next page. Okay. And just push that, stretch it tight and push it down. I don't need to go over this with the second layer of glue. It's really just about keeping it down. And then when I glue the cover on the book, that's when I'll put glue over the top of this again to attach the book, or the cover, to the book. So there's no use putting a layer of glue over the top of this stuff like I did on the spines. The glue on the spine is pretty thick, and it's meant to keep the spine flexible and allow it to flex, but also not have it break apart in between the signatures. So you want kind of a fairly thick layer on the spine, but it doesn't need to be thick at all here. It's just enough to keep it attached there. Then I usually open this up kind of at least 90 degrees, a little bit more, so it'll stay open, and then I let it dry like that. That way it's not going to dry closed, because you know the glue might soak through and then close that. So that's how we do that. Might do maybe one or two more of these small ones, and then I'll do the second step on those spine gluings. Tend to get a lot more glue on my fingers when I'm doing this step because I don't wait for the glue to dry. I just push it straight on there. And I've tried using what do you call those? Just anyway, not vinyl gloves, but those, whatever, it starts with an N, nitrile or nitrile, whatever that is. Tried using those gloves when I do bookbinding, but the glue really sticks to those gloves, and it's really obnoxious. So generally speaking, I just use my fingers. It gets really messy, but as long as I'm not doing bookbinding every day, if I do it really consistently, then it really messes up my skin on my fingers. They start cracking, but if I'm just doing it every once in a while, it's not a big deal. I should move my camera or put this over here, but don't always pay attention to where I'm covering myself up there. Put very little glue into that shot glass because it dries very quickly, so it's going to dry inside that shot glass as well. And I don't want to waste a bunch of glue, so I try to put just the amount that I think I'm going to need for each task, so that I don't end up wasting a bunch of glue. One of the bookbinders online that I took inspiration from uses a paint roller with his glue, but I don't like doing that because you waste so much glue, and it's so much work to clean out the roller after every time you use it. I can't stand doing it that way, so I tried it once and I'm like, nope, this isn't gonna work for me. So I always use a brush, pretty much. It works fine for me. only time it has somewhat of a challenge is when you're gluing a large surface area like the entire side of a book, like when you're attaching the cover, or when you're gluing two pieces of paper together to make a double thick piece of paper or something like that. That becomes a challenge because when you brush it on, it starts drying on the first part that you brushed on before you get the chance to brush out the entire page. But I have tricks for that I've shared on my streams, and I'll share them again when I get to that step, if I remember. Okay, so that one is ready on that side. And that's probably good enough time on those ones I was waiting for. I'll do those real quick, and then might continue with this stack after I'm done with those three. Still looks a little bit wet, but I think it's just probably about right. You want it to be a little bit wet, just enough that it sticks this mole on, but not so much that you get tons of glue on my fingers. So you have a little bit of glue there. So I could have waited a little bit longer, and then it would be dry enough that it wouldn't really come off on my finger when I'm pushing it. That's kind of what I'm shooting for, just enough. Just stick this on there. This is about right though. There's not much more glue coming off now. Also depends on how thick you put the glue. Sometimes you have little thick bubble areas, and that's where you get it coming off on your fingers like that. The rest was pretty thin, so it didn't have too much issue. I try to apply it fairly consistently, but it's not a exact science on these steps. And I do try to do everything right, symmetrical and aligned and all that stuff, but none of this really matters because I'm going to end up trimming the edges, so the uneven edges of the pages will be corrected. And if I get some kind of ugly gluing going on here on the spine, it doesn't matter because that's going to get covered by the book cover. It all works out. I just try, it's fun for me to try to do a really good job, but some of the stuff you don't even see in the final book. It doesn't matter at all, really. As long as it's structurally sound and not going to fall apart or something, that's more important than how it looks on these steps. This one also looks a little bit wet. That's fine though. I don't want to get these done and I can move on to the next thing. kind of forgot why it's so important to tighten these book presses to the extreme until just today. I mean, I know it's important, but it's especially important in this step because I'm pushing really hard on the spine to get this mull to be attached. And if I didn't have these book presses really tightened with these wing nuts, then I could actually change the position of the signatures and push it down so it's slanted or uneven. So luckily, as just a habit, I tighten them pretty well. But at one of them a little bit earlier, felt like it may have moved a little bit. Might have been in my imagination, but at that moment I was like, oh yeah, that's why I need to tighten those so much. Normally in the previous, well, all the previous books that I've made in the past, except for this batch where I just made these new book presses, I had the big book presses, and they apply more even pressure across the entire surface of the page because they're like this big, so this whole part's clamped in, and there's almost no chance that this will move. But with these smaller ones and only 2 bolts, it's possible to have them move a little bit if you push too hard. But that doesn't seem to be a major issue. So overall, it's pretty much only benefits with these new book presses. The only awkward thing is trying to stand them up. And I'm going to hopefully address that in future iterations with the little hinged legs that I'm planning to put on them, and better stands than these. These are a little bit too unstable for my taste. Still trying to figure out how Odysee works. I'll be actually quite a bit happier when they support, in every sense, 1080p. I get the feeling, I believe in the specs and various things that they say your replays are supposed to be 720p or something on your streams, and it's annoying because I prefer to have my OBS settings at have my canvas set to 1080p because I also record locally and upload that to YouTube just for a secondary possible audience or whatever. But so since I'm streaming in 1080p, I've actually kind of had some difficulty transitioning my live streams into permanent replays on Odysee. So what I've been doing is transcoding locally after I'm done with the stream. I'd re-encode it at 720p and upload that. But that's kind of a pain. It takes a while, obviously. It takes quite a long time, actually. And it's a shame because my video's already there on Odysee. I shouldn't have to re-upload it, but because of the resolution issue, I'm having to do that. So I'll be very happy when they get that resolved, if they ever have the resources to better support 1080p. And of course, some people like to stream it 4K, I suppose. I don't know anybody that does that, but certainly probably gamers would be the only one that would care much about doing that, I guess. and even them, it's gonna kill their hardware to do that. So anyway, 1080p feels like that should be a supported thing. And then like Rumble, I kind of looked at Rumble's deal, and they're like, mega limitations. So compared to what Rumble has going, Odysee has a lot better capabilities and higher limitations. I didn't even try live streaming on Rumble, or just because of it seemed like their overall time limit on each video was pretty short, and if you do like a 2-hour stream or more, then I don't know what, I think that would be above their limit. You'd have to cut it into pieces or something. So can't complain too much about Odysee. It's at least possible to get the videos on there, and they remain. Some people say forever because it's a blockchain, but I mean, I think that's a little naive. Blockchains rise and fall. You never know. Okay, all 3 of those are done. I think I'm going to take a quick break because my brush is getting a little goopy with the dried glue, and then maybe I'll glue some more of the sides of these. So, yep, I'll be back in a minute or two. to adjust my camera a little bit so it's hopefully what I'm doing isn't quite as much behind me this time. It's really hard to get that to work out. Be nice to be able to digitally adjust it. Like, wouldn't want to crop in from my 1080 to lose resolution, but you know, have a little bit of digital panning that you could do right and left or something. Be kind of nice. I guess some kind of motorized ball head on the camera would do that. I have thought about that before, but I've spent too much on streaming gear as it is. Maybe in the future when I have more just disposable income. Right now I don't have any of that, so. Okay. So we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 more books that I can glue one side on. There might be another stack here. Let me see. No, I think this is it. So I'm gonna publicly remind myself and possibly humiliate myself because I'm probably gonna forget this, but after I glue both sides down, the next step I need to do is flex the spine before I cut the sides, but I'll probably forget to do that, but just so you know, that's what I'm thinking right now while I'm remembering it. And I'll describe what I mean if I get to that point. I don't think I'll do it in this stream today, but well, I definitely won't, because I need to glue both sides down before I do that, and I can only glue one at a time. So I need to get my water thing here, use this to get the glue off my fingers so it doesn't terribly destroy my skin. Let's see how many I can do before my brush gets a little bit clogged. Probably around the same as the spines, maybe 5 or 6 or so. 4 or 5, I don't know. This glue dries really fast, which has its advantages and disadvantages. Generally I like it because if it took as long as some glue does to dry, you couldn't really get much done. A lot of waiting, but there is a fair amount of waiting. I like to wait for each step to dry in most cases, just to play it safe. And since I do all these assembly line processes where I'm doing quite a few books at the same time, it works out okay. While I'm waiting for something to dry, I'm working on something else. This is one of the earliest marble papers that I did. It sort of was a mistake, like I mentioned earlier, where I used a really cheap paint that blurred and smeared a little bit, but I actually really like how it turned out, and I wish I could replicate it, but there's so many odd variables involved that I probably could never make anything quite like that again. But I might try sometime because it looks pretty cool. really anxious to get back to paper marbling too. It's really therapeutic, and it's not that super hard, although it is more complicated than you might think. If you watch YouTube videos, it makes it look pretty easy, but when you're mixing the chemicals and getting the ratios of the different things, trying to get that all right, it starts to get a little stressful and complicated at times. And there's a lot of time sensitive stuff. Like once you create a mix of chemicals, you have to do the marbling within a certain amount of time. You can't just sit around. You have to not frantically work at it, but you can't like have it sitting to the next day. A lot of the time it'll dry out or have its properties change. So anyway, something I would like to do on stream eventually. I've said that a million times, but I don't have the space for it right now. But possibly at the end of the summer or into the fall, things might change to the point where I'd have a space to do that. And if that happens, I mean, if I get that space and I remember and I'm not too busy with life and other things, I might try to stream that also. Whether I stream it or not, I've just really been wanting to get back into it because it's literally been years since I've done any marbled paper. And it's because I want to do the big stuff. Like I could set it up pretty easily if I just did small sheets, but I want to do bigger ones. That's a lot more complicated. But I probably should compromise at some point and just do some smaller ones just so I can honestly just practice more. It's been so long since I've done it, and I didn't really do a lot to begin with. You could say I'm a beginner in a way. I did it many years ago and haven't done it a lot since. Bookbinding has been more consistent over the years. It's not just about needing space with paper marbling, it's also like having a setup where it's really important to have a sink literally right next to where you're working. And most houses, I mean, you can't, like if you're a bachelor messy guy like me, you could, and have your own place, you could set up your marbling station right by your sink in the kitchen or something, but most people can't do that. Even I can't do that right now because I don't have my own place. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for, is when I have my own space, I don't care if it looks messy because I'm more interested in my hobbies than trying to keep up appearances. So yeah, that's kind of what's holding me back at this point, is having a place that I can not necessarily keep messy, but just like not have to put everything away every time I do it, because it's a lot of work to set up for paper marbling. You don't want to have to tear it down every day or put everything away all the time. Ideally, you'd have like a special studio or shop where you could plumb in a sink, like a utility sink right by your tables or something. It's just, hopefully I'll have that set up someday, but not anytime soon. Just have to work with what I have, which right now is nothing. I don't have a sink. I've been brainstorming the possibility of buying like buying or finding on Craigslist or something, just a free utility sink. I've seen them before on there, but I need an extra wide one for big papers and stuff. And then seeing if I can rig up just like a garden hose or something to supply the water to it. I'm not sure if that's possible, but probably is. Then I could have it, I mean, it would be very strange to have a hose going through the next room where the sink is, but something I would consider anyway. And the drainage would be the real problem too. Like, where's all that dirty water with the paint gonna go? It has to drain somewhere, and if it's not hooked up to the plumbing or whatever, then just have to put a bucket underneath the sink or something like that. These are all things I've been thinking about for years, though, just haven't pursued it. Been pretty satisfied with working on books the last few years, but the marbling is sounding more and more attractive all the time because I haven't done it for so long, and my supply of marble paper, it's still decent. I can make a lot more books because each of my books has the marble paper in it. I have a fair amount left, but eventually I'll run out, and then I'll really want to make some more. I mean, I can certainly use other paper for the end sheets on my books, but it's like I can make the marble paper and it looks cool, so I may as well use that. I've also made a few books with maps, like street maps, as the end sheets. You can use, pretty much anything, any kind of paper. But I'm not really into like printed designs that you can buy at like art stores, just because that doesn't feel creative to me as much, because I'm just taking somebody else's design that they've made and like cardstock, printed cardstock, for example, or whatever. I prefer to make something myself or use something secondhand that's kind of cool, like the maps. I feel like that's kind of cool. Some people make handmade items out of like old comic books or magazines or different retro things, which is pretty cool. I've not done a lot of that myself. My mom has a friend that does that. These go fairly quickly, so I can do several of them before my brush gets tacky, but it is getting on the verge, so might be about where I need to go clean it, or I might be able to get away with doing one more. It's pretty messed up, so I think I'll go wash it and then continue on with the stack. I'll be right back. Blue bottle's getting pretty empty. Every time it gets pretty close to empty, I like to clean it out. Otherwise, I could just keep refilling it, but the glue starts getting goopy on the sides too, and it's just good to clean stuff out as often as it's empty, because it doesn't empty super often, so. I buy like really big bottles, like I might buy a gallon one next, but I have like 32 ounces. I just use those to fill this smaller one up. Honestly, I'd probably do better with even a smaller glue bottle than this one for my everyday use, so it could empty faster and get cleaned out more often. Guess I'll give the replay, publish, update thingy one more try on this stream. Every time I've tried to update a stream that comes through at 1080p, it like has a weird error. I don't remember exactly what it says, but it just doesn't work. And then if I, instead of just publishing, I actually re-upload the file, as a 720p encoded video, then it works. So I'm guessing that just means they have a limit on their resolution here. Well, I mean, I kind of read a thing about that too. They got a limited bitrate and resolution, but I'm going to give it one more shot today after this stream is over, and if it works, great, but I don't think it will. You can stream at 1080p, but it seems to not want you to save the replays at 1080. So we'll see. Give it one more chance. Finger's getting full of glue now. It just starts caking up. Even if I wash it or rinse it off after each time I do this, it just, some part of it remains and it just keeps building up. So it's not good to do too much of this kind of activity. It really messes with your fingers, your hands, skin, whatever. I just found that using your hand, you just feel the elbow texture and you respond accordingly. It's something that a kind of feedback any kind of tool can't really provide. And like I said, when I tried using gloves, they just stick to the glue like crazy and it's too annoying. It's possible to do, but it's not as pleasant. Okay, so probably that's good for this batch, and then I have 3 more to do, so I'll wash my brush one more time and be right back to finish up. And then probably after I'm done with these last 3, I'll maybe end the stream. So I'll be back in a minute. think I might actually take my own advice and make this the last time I use this glue bottle and see if I can. I might have one already, or just go buy a really small one, like half that size would be perfect. Needs to seal really well though. Some of the bottles that you buy are maybe made just to hold water or something like that, and they're not completely airtight. Need to be airtight so their glue doesn't dry out inside. I like this color combination. It's every one that I've done with this kind of teal and then the green, gold, and purple. Look, always turns out really nice. Different patterns, but those colors really work well. And that teal is like out of gamut for every monitor in existence and scanner. You can't replicate it digitally. It's a lot brighter than what it looks there on the screen. If you don't have this mull stuff, you can get it online, or you can actually use just a really lightweight cotton. But I like to use this stuff. It's what it's made for, and it's easier to work with because the glue saturates it fully because of the really light open weave. It's hard to say, like, I haven't tested everything. Like, some scientists or bookbinders from ancient past tested a bunch of stuff. You know, they used a bunch of products and determined that this is, you know, the one that they like to use among various ones, and or different bookbinders might have preferences or whatever. But in reality, there could be a superior material out there, and just no one's bothered to try it out because they just keep doing the same traditional methods. So I'm very open to trying new things, but I have to have a reason to think it's going to be good, not just try every possible thing. And I don't have like any scientific equipment to compare you know, the strength of various products. But sometimes I imagine like really modern materials being used for this, and like this glue is actually pretty modern, PVA glue. They didn't use that in the old days. They used like animal glues, paste, or wheat paste, and for certain things. But PVA is like a superior. I think it's superior in pretty much every way, even better than all the things they used to use. And it's certainly probable that, you know, as chemistry improves, they'll just keep coming out with better materials. You could even think about using stuff like Kevlar or I don't know, some of the plastics, polymer type things, and then like the what do you call it? Can't remember. Like the carbon, not carbon fiber, but like that new material that's all over the internet, where it's just like a hexagon of carbon atoms together. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, you could use the latest, greatest technology in something like this old traditional art form and just, you know, improve it. But unless you try it and have some way to figure out if it's going to last test of time, it's probably not worth it. Plus, some of the glues might not react. That's the biggest actual concern, is use a different material and the glues might not stick to it. Like, I've wanted to use certain plastics to have like a waterproof cover, or just do different things like that. But a lot of the glues that you use don't really adhere to plastics very well. So you have to overcome that issue, and each material has its own pros and cons. But I could definitely see, instead of this mesh stuff, using something that's much more durable. And same with these linen tapes. They're both quite durable because linen is a very long-lasting material among natural materials as they go. But I bet there's probably some either synthetic or even other natural things like hemp, for example. Probably another good alternative. Hemp was outlawed in the United States for a very long time. It's kind of under a misunderstanding. Used to be a very popular material to use. Cheap, strong, lasts forever kind of a thing. And then they banned it, which is stupid. But I think more recently that's not quite as heavily regulated, though I don't know that they've entirely deregulated it, so hopefully people will remember how they used to make things, because I think in the past they knew more about materials than we do today in some senses. Okay, that's the last one. So, I think I will call it quits for the night, or the morning, whatever it is. I've sort of been wanting to stream every day, like just keep this going and stay on a roll, but I definitely can't commit to that, and I don't know if it'll happen or not. In the past, I've had spurts where I stream regularly, and then I just disappear for like a month, so can't promise that won't happen, but I don't know. Right now I'm enjoying working on the books, and keeps my mind off other kind of depressing things that are going on, so yeah, I'll probably keep doing it, but it may not be every day. May take little breaks here and there, but, and also I never know how much work I have, so that, you know, depends on how much energy I have after work if I feel like doing this. So I may be back tomorrow, I may not. I might take a couple days off, we'll see. Anyway, I will catch y'all soon. Next stream I'll probably glue the other side of these down, and then the ones that I glued, the spines will be ready to do the same process on, and I'll just take it from there. I will see y'all next time. Thanks for lurking. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good week.